high time that we need to start the language class also, and being a core subject, it needs to be given a little time and effort to do some justice to the subject. Last year also we had it, but we had our own hiccups in between, as a result of which I don't know whether we should be very satisfied with what we have done, because I personally feel like it was not so wholeheartedly done, and so a lot of things are required which we need to make up for this year. But unfortunate, COVID plays the spoil sport, as a result of which we again get drifted from each other, and it has taken almost 8 months for me to come back to you, though PCMB classes have been happening. Yet the language was taken the same way as it is taken by either the state board students, or the way language was given, the concern at the time, as in class 10, right? But this year, you should have a special joy to study English as a language. And the reason is, perhaps after class 12, you will never ever get a chance to study English unless and until you take a personal interest. And even if you take a personal interest in studying this language called English, it will be a pastime reading for you. You may read your novels, you may read the articles, you may read magazines. Those kind of reading can be done, but we don't study that, we just read it. So we don't do it as a task, we do it as a pastime reading. Okay, so this is the last year that you have the chance to study it very thoroughly, and if you can really enjoy that spirit of reading, then you will enjoy this literature. So as we take you through the textbook for this year, which is titled Flamingo, your core main course, and Vistas as the next one, the supplementary text. So these two texts, as we take you through in the next couple of months, if you can enjoy that, that would be the best experience that you can carry with you. Because language becomes a very important aspect of your personality. Perhaps you will be joining your professional courses, so the value of language to be used as a tool of communication may not be realized at this point of time, because you are so overwhelmed after class 12 with your NEET or JEE, and then your rankings, and then your counseling, and then the selection of your college, and then being there at the doorstep of the college that you have chosen and that you have got it. So you are already overjoyed to step into a professional college, right? So in that joyful experience, perhaps this very focused and conscious way of looking at language may be absent, at least for the initial months. And once the initial months are over, then it's almost forgotten. So I feel that it's very special for you, and you should feel privileged also that you study literature in a more intense way than what we do it with the state board students. Having the experience of having taught the state board students also, what I can tell you is, at state board, you can blindly write the examination and score at least 50 plus. If you have attended the language classes in your college, you can even score 80 plus. Because it doesn't need a hard preparation for that, given the kind of content it has, and given the kind of the question paper and the nature of questions that you get. It's 50 plus 50. So 50 is from the text, and the remaining 50 is all what you have learned until now, especially in your high school days. And it's put into a very easy format to you. I mean, comparatively talking with the CBSE and the state. So the difference appears because at state, perhaps the board looks at even the least of the student who has the knowledge of English. Whereas with CBSE, it happens to be a little different. It has to be different because it goes on the national level, at the national level. So we need to be a little more better, little more prepared in a better way than what we do it for state. So we cannot take it easy that, okay, overnight I can just skim over the textbook, and I'll be confident enough to write the exams. Of course, section A and B, which is meant for reading skills and writing skills, that can be done because that's something that you have already done it in your secondary classes, and now you need to refine that and do it. And this refining of what you have already learned in class 9 and 10 and perhaps 11 also, that's very easy for you now because now you seem to be so matured even with the language that you have become a keen observer, right? You listen very keenly, you watch very particularly. So everything when you do it, like when you keep your eyes and ears open, that will play on your subconscious mind. And when it plays on your subconscious mind, perhaps even without your realization, you have started picking up a better sense of language. So you become sensible as well as you are sensitizing yourself with the language skills that are already in you and those that you are allowing to influence you. So the next couple of months that you are going to attend the classes in English, you must be a keen listener, a keen observer. Because we say that a language is learned better when we speak less and listen more. Okay, but when we listen, it is not just listening as a mere activity, it has to be done as a process. When I listen, I should listen in such a way that it allows me to draw that influence upon me. And even the style of speaking, the intonations, the modulations, whatever you can, right? The pronunciations, even all this, if you listen very attentively, perhaps you start catching the correct pronunciations and all that. Well, all this matters because it's part of your personality. And what speaks for your personality? Your language. So if you want that language skills, that communicating ability, then you have to be a little serious about what we do with your textbook and the other activities for the coming months. Okay, so today we will just have an interaction. And resuming my talk, when we started before the live camera started, right? There's always a sense of pride. There's always a sense of being very special by being the students of the first batch. As I told you, like it's the virtue, by virtue of taking admission to class 11 last year, you've already got it, right? But now it's like a crown for you. Of course, nobody can take away that from you. It's a crown for you, but now you need to make your crown shining, right? The more jewels you can add into your crown, the better it becomes. Okay, and then you can have that pride and hold your head high that it was not just by virtue of taking admission to class 11 that we earned this record or we were blessed with this record of being the first batch, but we are also leaving our imprints behind that yes, this was the first batch which did it the best that was possible, and thereafter you can hold your head high with pride. What I mean to say is, like if you can put in a little more efforts that you are putting in now, right? And enhance your performance, improve your performance day after day, because it's going to be very decisive for you, right? You are the chosen few who have joined us, and naturally, we want our choicest blessings on you, right? So you are the chosen few and our choicest blessings for you, but in between, there has to be a hard effort. Okay, but I want that hard effort to become harder as time passes by. And as your dates are announced and your dates approach, it should be the hardest. And I can only tell you that you will be the luckiest only if you are putting your hardest efforts on that. Because we all know, we have experienced even in class 10, that it's only that student who has worked hard, harder and the hardest who turns out to be lucky, luckier and luckiest with the results. Luck is not going to shine upon you just like that. It has to be earned, right? Only when I put in that 99% of effort and look for that 1% or leave it for luck, perhaps that luck may come searching for you. But if I go the other way around, it's not going to happen. Practically, we may turn out to be foolish. Okay, so I do understand and I do have that faith in you that you wouldn't be the other way around. You are looking forward to putting your best foot forward, and we all believe that, and it's only a matter of time that you strike your form, and once you strike your form, you should get going. There should be no looking back once you start with your form. So we are just waiting to see when you are going to strike that form. And once you strike your form, keep blazing. Okay, and when you leave the premises of the APPA public school, you should leave the premises like a trailblazer. You need to leave your imprints behind. So that is what we would be looking forward to. And let's open up this session to interact with you. And for those who are on the other side of the screen, let me tell you that we have got a couple of students in the classroom with whom we would be interacting. And if you have anything to say or comment upon, I guess the comment box is open. If it is open, you can leave your comments there. The visibility may not be possible for me to pick up your questions, but perhaps some other time when I get a chance, I would be looking forward for that. So let's now go back to what we were talking about, language. And this time we are going to have two textbooks as it was like last year. The first text is titled Flamingo. Okay, the name of the bird. And the second text is Vistas. This is your main course, main text, main course text, and this is going to be your supplementary text. And like last year, there are a lot of similarities from last year. You will have again 8 chapters which are common for both. In this task, as well as in Flamingo, you will have 8 chapters. And the structure of your exam, which is like section-wise, A, B, and C will remain the same until and unless the board makes some changes. 20, 30, and 30, plus the next 20 for ASL, and of course your periodic tests. Together, you will get this next 20. So that makes 100 for you. And the literature part, both together, Flamingo as well as Vistas will go for 30 marks. And this is literature oriented. And the other two, I hope you've already experienced it and you can recall from your memory that these two are all about your reading and writing skills. Okay, so let me just take a break here and then come to you and ask you, how do you feel studying language for the first time? Sorry, for the last time. For the first time for this year, the first class, and the last for this year. Because next, you're not going to study language when you move to your professional courses. So how do you feel? Because this is also something that's related to your very first lesson. The first chapter of your text called Flamingo. Even the title is also the last lesson. Okay, so when you feel that this is something that is going to be for a very little time, the next 1 or 2 or 3 months, and thereafter language is gone, right? Language classes are gone. So when you have this feeling, and when you start feeling that you are going to miss it, what is it that you feel now? If this is difficult for you to answer, you can just recall your class 10. Right? Just before your trial exam started, perhaps your teacher would have said, this is going to be the last class for you this year. And hereafter, we'll start with the trials. And once the trials start, it's only about writing your exams, coming for your papers, collect your evaluated papers, and then having a discussion with the teacher if you feel worth enough, and then move out. So we won't have this formal classes kind of a thing, except for the doubt clarifications or any objections that you raise and discuss with your teacher. So what is it that you feel now? If it's going to be the last one, you're going to miss it in some more time. Okay, so when you start feeling that I'm going to miss it, you start feeling like you need to enjoy it the more. Okay, how it would be if we compare it to an ice cream? We always say eat before it melts. Okay, so after some time the ice cream is going to melt away from our hands. And once it starts melting, perhaps we may not be able to enjoy it as it would be when it is freezed. Okay, so it should be like that. And the human tendency is also like that. Human nature also is like that. That when the feeling comes in that this is something that I'm going to miss, there's a sense of grief, there's a sense of nostalgia. A lot of things come in. It's a very mixed reaction that comes in. Okay, there can also be a feeling that, oh, this is going to be the best moment of my life. Once these classes are over, I'll get rid of my language classes. How boring it was to sit in the classes and listen to the monotonous talk from the teacher. You can even take it that way also. So that's why I said, like, it comes with a mixed reaction, right? At times you may feel that, at times you may feel like this. But as children, being very playful, right? And sometimes a little mischievous also, right? When you have it before you, you may want to play with it. You may not be very serious about it. But the moment you miss it, the moment you realize that next second or the next minute, I'm not going to get it, then we start realizing the worth of it. That's when in English we say, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Many a time, even your parents also would have said it. Okay, tomorrow when you go to your professional colleges and start living your life in the hostel, then you will realize what is it to be at home. Okay, so there are different ways of trying to realize that, and this could be one of the ways, right? And when you hear such a sentence and you look back at your 9 and 10, right? How do you feel now when you were in class 10, right? And everybody telling you that you are going to face the heat of your board exams and all that. Okay, that moment was a terrible moment for you, isn't it? Like you were feeling that, oh, when the hell these exams are going to finish? I want to just get rid of it. Okay, so there was a lot of pressure to perform. There was a lot of stress that you had to take. A lot of things have gone by. A lot of drama has taken place there. A whole lot of emotions have run through. Right? Now, what do you feel when you look back at class 10? When I'll be in the college, when I'll feel relaxed, when I'll feel that freedom and all that. Okay, but now you are in college. Now, do you have the same feeling like what you thought it to be when you are in class 10? No, it's totally different. Because when you start exercising more freedom, you'll start realizing that it comes not without responsibility. When there is more freedom, there is more responsibility. When there is more responsibility, there is more commitment to be done. Right? And when there is commitment and when there is something that's going to be decisive in your life, going to be a deciding factor in your life, everybody is awfully looking up to you that what are you going to make out of this year? What are you going to make out of the hard effort that you have put in? Are you going to make it like what you had expected it? Or are you going to settle down with what you did not expect? Okay, so now you feel that the heat that we felt in class 10 was far, far better than the heat that we feel in class 12. Okay, so life is like that. When we face it, we feel that this is a very tough time. But we need to tell ourselves that when the going gets tough, interplace of words, when the going gets tough, means when you are caught in tough situations, right? When the going gets tough, what happens? Interchange these two words. Interchange them. Who will get going? The tough gets going. And the others, they are out of the race. Okay. So anyway, class 12 also is going to be tougher, not just tough. Right? But if you are a person with steely nerves, if you are a person who has a spirit like I will not give up. If you are a person who says that my parents have invested their emotions in me apart from whatever resources they are spending for you, right? Making it available for you, the comforts that they are trying to give you. Okay, apart from all that investments, what are you going to make out of that? That is something that we need to understand. And when I said more freedom, more responsibility, I think now you start feeling that responsibility that when my parents are so emotionally involved with me in what I'm going to make my career for the life, naturally there is a sense of feeling that I should not disappoint them. Okay, and usually what happens in middle class families and all that, and by and large with others also, with other class also, community also, whatever you call it, what happens is many a time the parents would have had their own dreams during their days like you, right? But their situations, circumstances, conditions that played upon them perhaps would have been very different. At least one thing what we can understand is uh, they were not as comfortable as we are today, right? So they were in more difficult situations, more critical conditions, and still they tried their best to make something of their life, and they have done it. Okay, but most of them wouldn't have done it to their expectations. And so you may find it like that. No, look, I wanted to be this, but see, my conditions were different, right? I was a victim of circumstances. I couldn't carry over. And so I see that in you. Would you fulfill that dream? And when you achieve that, the parents get that pleasure when they say that, oh, I couldn't do it. My child has done. I live in the dreams, I live in the achievements of my child. My dreams are living in the achievements of my child. Right? So that is something which gives you contentment, satisfaction. That finally you have done something, something which is so priceless, right? All the resources that I've given you has come at a price. But what you give them, the pleasure that you give them by satisfying either your dream or their dream or your task or their task, when you achieve that task, when you fulfill their dreams, okay, it's all party time for both sides, for you and your parents as well. Okay, and you could have even recalled that scene, right? The scene where if you have got the percentage that you wanted, and how your parents would be talking about it. I'm damn sure they would be saying, "ನಮ್ಮ ಮಗಳು ಇಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡಿರ್ರಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಮಗ ಇಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡಿರ್ರಿ." Right? There is a sense of pride when they say that. And when it hasn't been, ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ರಿ ಇನ್ನೂ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. Right? Our children had the potential, they could have done it, but for some reason they didn't do it. So that chance, what you have taken there, now you don't take that chance. Okay, what was something which remained as not satisfactory result, or say like something, some grudge from class 10 result, if it was there, this is another chance for you to get rid of that. Okay, and there are many students whom we have acquainted and observed them very closely, who have changed the fortunes for themselves. I can remember one girl, if I get her name right, Kavya or somebody. I mean, with the state board, but then it doesn't matter. Gradings are done there, right? And she belonged to the third section among the girls, which means it is in and around first class. So with the very first class, we had a challenge of trying to get the most. But then there was always a feeling that, oh, ahead of me are two sections which are not less than 40. Which means like 80 students from the same school are ahead of her. And imagine what would be at the state level. Okay, so suddenly when you think, oh, so many to compete with, there are some who get scared, there are some who get emboldened. Okay, now you need to choose what to do. Are you going to get scared and withdraw yourself? or are you going to strengthen yourself, embolden yourself and take up the challenge? Right? Kavya did that. From a first class in 10th standard, right, couldn't do much. From a first class in 10th standard, when she came to +2, she took it as a challenge. And what inspired her? Why we ask every batch to perform and leave it as a challenge for your juniors is because of this. Vishal Darpur was a student then who was the topper for the school. Today he pursues his medicine from the Bangalore Medical College and Research Institute, BMCRI. Perhaps in the last summer he would have finished it and cracked his PG also. I'm not very sure, but he's in BMC now. Okay, he was called on the stage as a topper there, and of course at the state also he was a topper in CD then, and he was called on the stage, and Kavya was there among the audience, and she said, "Sir, I want to sit beside him. I want to talk to him." Then very in a lighter vein, he said that no, you need to earn that place. You are not going to just get like that. Okay, to be there, you need to earn that. Perhaps Ritu Rathod was the other girl was a topper, and both of them were on the stage that day in an informal interaction with their juniors. Okay, that statement was something that perhaps made an impact on her. And she was so touched by the kind of sentence that was spoken, and her urge, that strong urge to be on the stage one day, really motivated her so much that she could score a distinction in PUC. Right? Usually, going by calculations mathematically, we don't expect anybody scoring 60 plus in 10th and then making it distinction in PU. That vast improvement is little difficult to believe, hard to believe for us. Okay, so though it was hard to believe for her, she did it and proved it. And when she came with the distinction, she got a special invitation to come on the stage and speak to her juniors. Right? And again, that made her so strong that she didn't get it in the very first attempt, the seat that she wanted in medical, and she took it the second time. So a never give up attitude was there. Okay, and she was an average performing girl. She was not a very promising girl, and we expected a lot about her and all that. She was just an average student, but with an average performance in class 10, but with a strong desire to perform. Right? That slowly motivated her, and she kept herself motivated so much that she couldn't rest until she got what she wanted. Okay, like that, there are innumerable number of examples. Even with our own school, also we have lots of examples with your seniors, right? Lots of examples we can take, but then this was very drastic improvement that was done in my observation. So I thought I could just narrate it to you. Okay, so this is only to say that it doesn't matter where you start, but it matters where you end. On the similar lines, it is said, right? When you were born, you didn't have a choice. You were to be born in that family, right? But when you grow up, you have a choice to reach where you want, right? Choose it and work for it. So if you're born poor, it's not a crime. But if you die poor, it's a crime. Right? Because the next part of our life is in our hands. If we choose to do good, we'll be leaving a good name behind. If we can do it better, in a better. And if we can do it the best, we'll leave our name as the best achiever. Okay, so we still have a lot to achieve for ourselves. Nothing is too late is what we need to understand. Okay, if you want to start, you can start at any time. As I told you, it doesn't matter when you start and where you start, but it matters how you end and where you end. Okay, so let's look for those goals that we need to achieve. Of course, we have a bigger goal in our life, like we want to be engineers, we want to be doctors, we want to be some other professionals. But to reach out to that place, that high place, let us check from here itself. Let us have these checks and balances upon ourselves and start doing it from here itself. And what is that? A step at a time. Okay, if that is a larger goal, the larger goal will be fulfilled only when we have a smaller goals fulfilled. Right? We say success, nothing succeeds like success does. Once you become successful, be it even a small success, but you get so enthralled, inspired, and motivated by the success that you have earned with your hard efforts that it will not allow you to come down or climb down. It will remind you every time that, look, this is what you have done with this effort. Now, if you can put in a little more, you can be in a better place. That's why it is said, nothing succeeds like success does. And it's very infectious also. Okay, once it gets into you, nothing can stop you from getting higher success. So keep yourself motivated like that. So have your smaller goals. Your smaller goals, for example, like look forward for your periodic test, look forward for your weekly test, look forward for your cumulative, right? And then make an assessment of your own self. What were you performing in the last cumulative test and this for cumulative test? And if you are showing that signs of improvement, definitely a step after step will take you to greater heights. It cannot happen all at once. And when we talk about heights, I'm reminded of this. The number of attempts that Hillary had to do. And after every failure, he used to stand before that picture of the Himalayas and say, laugh as much as you want. But one day, I will be among the top of you. And finally, he did that. Okay, if you are a good observer of the advertisements on television, you must listen very carefully the lines of the Honda Civic vehicle. When you reach at the top, the sight is so beautiful. Okay, but to reach for the top is what you need to plan and execute. So if you can observe those lines very closely, I guess that will also be a little motivation for you to do that. And that way, a lot of things, as I told you, like if you become a keen observer, a keen listener, an attentive listener, there are a lot of things that we can get. And I guess you fancy with this sufferings called mountain view, right? Right now, when we think about whether I'm going to achieve it or not, this is going to be my goal and all that, there is a sense of fear, right? So fear is not something that is abnormal. Fear is very natural. Everybody has a sense of fear, whether I will or I'll not. But we cannot just hang on with the same thought of I can or I cannot. Right? We need to look at the brighter side and keep moving ourselves. And that's why it is said, "Dar ke aage jeet hai." Right? If you are able to overcome your fear, because fear can be made into a positive feeling. And what is that? Have I worked enough or not? That you should be scared of. Right? If you have worked enough, then you wouldn't be scared. And if you're not scared, the other meaning of not being fearful or not scared is you're confident. When you are confident, you're motivated. When you are motivated, you are giving the best. And when you give the best, nobody can stop you from getting the best. Okay. So there is an amazing way of doing justice to your hard work. And the Almighty is there. There is something around which is going to do that justice. Okay, it's very reciprocal. The hard efforts put in, the best results you get. Okay, and in class 10 also I might have told you this statement. If you're looking for ordinary result, what kind of efforts you would be putting in? For example, okay, let's just take this case. You have got an ordinary result. Ordinary result in that sense, that not very significant or not very appreciable result. Why? Because their efforts were only, because they are all going to be same. Okay, it is this kind of a result that brought you this result. Your efforts were ordinary, and so you got an ordinary result. Okay, and this is something that I have learned from my mentor, that if you can put one word, and that is extraordinary efforts, then chemistry balancing the equation, right? So you can add in extra here also. So only when you put in extraordinary efforts, you are going to get extraordinary result. Okay, so going by this way also, it always tells that the balancing the equation also going by that, and then the reciprocity of the nature, right? Whatever we give, we get it. So when we look at all these things, it's very important for ourselves to remind that let me start now. Let me start so much so that I'm ignited from within, right? I'm motivated from within. And I'm also reminded of this picture of two bikes being started. One with a electric start and the other with a kick start. Okay, of course with bikes it's fine, but when we apply it to our everyday life, right? Let's say like if I ask you, or if I ask myself, would you want to be a self-starter like the electric start, or you want to be a kick-starter like the one which is manually kicked and started? Right? If this question is asked to me, would you like to be a self-starter or a kick-starter? I wish I want to be a self-starter. Right? So we need to be self-starters, and for that we need to charge ourselves. And what is that charge? That charge doesn't come from outside, it is to be drawn from inside, and that is about being yourself motivated. Right? If you don't keep yourself motivated, nothing can be done. So if you are motivated, even the external factors also play their role upon you, and nature also will help you to put things in place according to the efforts that you have put in. Okay, so this is all about a general way of trying to motivate ourselves. But then our important task for this year is these two texts, along with these two sections where we are going to have unseen passages, and at the same time the letter to editorials, all kinds of those letters. And an added thing would be like poster making, notice writing. This would be an added one for class 12. This is something that you have already done it even in class 10. Right, you have done kind of a report writing where the outline is given and then you put it into a paragraph. Right, the same things are going to be done at a little advanced stage. Okay, with advanced standards, not as it was there with the class 10, but a little differently. But it's not going to be difficult at all. So let's take out our time and look into our textbooks also, and all those who are watching it from the screen. Make sure that you get your textbooks and also have a look into it, because when we do literature, it is always good if you have at least 2 readings of the text. One before you understand, and second after you understand. And going by the experience of the literature lovers and those who are intense readers, they say that every time you read a piece of literature, every time you get a very different experience. Okay, so if that's very true, let us test it and see it. But right now, we'll read it as a task for our examination, and thereafter we still have a lot of time to check out, is it true that every time that we read, we get a very different experience of the same piece of literature or an art or a work of an art. Okay, so Flamingo, I mean, all going to start with 8 chapters like how it was last time. Last time, I guess, along with the prose, you also had a poetry that complemented, right? Now, this time it's going to be a little different. They are separate, exclusive. Okay, that would be the only difference. You have 6 poems over there, and here also you will have 6 poems, and then the next 50 marks for reading and writing skills. Okay. So that's for the day, I guess. And so you need to get your text. If you don't have your text, you can also buy it from our office. But I would prefer advising you to get your text from the market if it's available. Otherwise, also tomorrow you can get the text from here. And otherwise, also if you are working on internet, these all books are available online. And if you don't feel strained, even after going home, to read it out from the screen of your laptop or your desktop, then you can still do that. Definitely don't do it on the small screens of your cell phones. Okay, because you don't get the whole content on one screen and you have to scroll up and down. By the time you scroll up and down, there's a lot of disconnectivity that may take place. So it will be distorted reading. So I wouldn't suggest that. You can either have a hard copy of it, you can have a printout if you can afford, or buying the textbook is the best thing. Okay, and then the reading pleasure is something which can be again compared to a chocolate, and then said like the melody chocolate. How did this melody chocolate become so tasty? इतना melody कैसे बनी? Right? The answer is melody का खुद जान जाओ. Okay, similarly, you need to have your text, read your text, and you yourself experience the joy of reading it for the reading sake and study it for your exams. Okay, so today I think this would be good enough for ourselves to remind that we have a subject called English to look forward to and pursue it very seriously, right? And in the next class, we shall start with the text. And the first lesson is the last lesson. Okay, very interesting topic that we have got. And I'll leave you with this sentence today. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. It is this that you are going to experience over there. So keep this ringing in your mind. And if you get your hands on the text, read it and see if you can find it. If you can't, tomorrow we'll together do the text and try to understand. Okay? Thank you.